Oh, welcome in to a very chilly edition of Fat Beans Coffee Lab. So, as you might have noticed on the Go Live, if that's how you're joining us, um, we're not going to be roasting coffee today. And you might ask yourself, but Brian, why aren't we going to roast some coffee today? Well, some good reasons, some terrible reasons. First, the good reasons. Uh, this machine, the B More 2000, it has a lot of flexibility and a lot of capabilities built around the fact that it is electric. Now, as you might have seen from the title, it also has one limitation. It is electric. So we are currently not experiencing any blackouts here in Kansas City, but we've been advised, much like many parts of the United States have, that power consumption needs to be a premium. Supposed to get about between negative 11 and a negative 15 sometimes today. That's taking a big toll on the power. Also, more people are at home. Oh, hi Gus. Glad you could join us. That's the one fan I'm looking for. So hopefully my sweet rhythmic voice and hat put you right to bed quickly, so your mom can have a little bit of respite. But anyway, it's supposed to be in the negatives, and it's putting a big toll on power. And I'm guessing, if you are joining us, you probably are having the same strain on your power as well. And if you're not joining us, maybe it's because you don't have any power. But just to stay to my schedule and to just kind of do something a little bit different and to challenge myself, I wanted to come down here and still put on a show on Monday, but without old Jutes here. Hi Brian, we were watching from Arkansas. Well, hello, W. Brogan, and welcome in. Don't think we got a very active show today, just because, as I was mentioning, the cold weather is limiting many of our viewers. But it's good to know that Arkansas has joined the Texas, Kansas, Florida triumvirate. So, is that you, Wanda? Yeah. Oh, thanks for sticking to schedule. And new camera? Nope, same old camera. Just, well, I must just be glowing today. Must just have that ready to explain some stuff glow that I get on a good Monday. So anyway, W. Brogan, welcome in. And if you guys are wondering, W. Brogan, are you related? Yes. So, hi, Mom. Oh, and because this is an impromptu show, we have a special guest. Gus tends to think that he's probably closer to streamer generation than his dad is. Say hi there. Wave to there. So there you go. Again, impromptu show. So Gus cameo there. Oh, that's Grandma. Grandma said hi. Yeah, hi, Grandma.
Hi, Grandma.
Okay.
Hi, Mimi.
And yes, for those of you watching at home, these are footy pajamas. So he's ready. He's ready to fight the cold. Okay. Well, bye. Oh. So he's really perplexed by the fact that Mimi and Grandma are both here. Oh. Anyway, so welcome in everybody. I guess we're all in the same boat here. It's really cold. So to do my part as a good citizen, I decided not to run the electric roaster. It is kind of an energy hog, and per some advice that we've been getting was don't run space heaters, don't run laundry machines, especially dryers, washing machines. So I want to be a good public influence, be a good public servant, and not roast on what is looking like going to be the coldest day ever here in Kansas City. So we will put off roasting until tomorrow. So what I want to do is try something a little bit different. So I put some feelers out and I just told some people, what should we do? I want to do something really quick, just to, again, as Belvarte said, stay on schedule. But I also want to do something that kind of matches with the cold theme and also the no power theme. So what I decided to do tonight is we are going to make Cowboy style coffee. Now, as you know, the title of this show is Blackout Cowboy Coffee. So the idea is let's say we lost power sometime during this show, which would be a bummer because the show would be over because I'd lose my Wi-Fi. But let's assume we lose power. Could I still be able to make myself a delicious treat to get myself through the no power times? And the answer is yes. I've had the unfortunate pleasure to have lived through having no power for 6 days during Hurricane Harvey back in 2017. I had to come up with some really creative ways to make coffee. One of those creative ways was actually Cowboy coffee. Now you might be thinking to yourself, Brian, what's Cowboy coffee? Well, I'm going to tell you. Cowboy coffee is what cowboys would have drank if they wanted to drink coffee. So it's a campfire style coffee that takes into consideration that you don't have anything except for fire, water, and coffee. So we're going to take fire, water, and coffee. We're going to mix those three things and try to make something that looks like Cowboy coffee. I think it should be interesting, should be somewhat entertaining, and if nothing, it should make for some good questions. I just told Gus like his PJs, and he thinks they're awesome and hilarious. Yeah, he's more about the funny part of those PJs than any sort of function from them. I recognize that from my Girl Scout days. Okay, well, excellent. So some of you maybe have gone camping and you've experienced Cowboy coffee before. So that hopefully it can be something new for some of you, and for some of you, maybe you can throw me some tips. I am showing you different materials because let's assume you only grind coffee with an electric grinder. Now you're like, Brian, you told us that you use a hand grinder at work every day. I do, but much like what happened during Hurricane Harvey, I left the hand grinder at work, so I don't have the hand grinder here. This is simply a mortar and pestle. So this is a rock, essentially. This is a rock. I'm going to take 2 rocks, I'm going to bash them together. And also have the benefit of having a little bowl. I'm going to quick adjust the microphone. That is the one bad part of switching studios, is I've got to redo the whole mic. Okay. Oh, and Robot's here. So, anyway, this is a mortar and pestle. Very rudimentary system. Yeah, we're going real primitive. Absolutely. So the idea is let's say we were out on the range. So we have 2 rocks. This is how we're going to grind our coffee. This will make as our receptacle. Now, normally we would have a campfire pot. I do not have an open fire in my house. I have 2 young children. The carbon dioxide would be a little bit more than I'm willing to deal with. Our house is old and we've never used the fireplace before. So you're gonna have to play a little bit of make-believe and assumed I heated the water with fire. Because again, unlike some of our viewers, we still have power, but let's assume that we don't, and that the water was boiled using fire. Then we are going to put the water in, put the grounds in, we'll stir it up real good, and then we will, I'll show you a couple other things to how we're going to get the coffee and the grounds separated. So that's kind of where it becomes the cowboy piece of this. I'm going to step away for one real quick second. I got to go get some to stir. Okay. So let's just jump right into it. If you got any questions as we go, just let me know. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to ground up our coffee. So I'm going to take 2 tablespoons of coffee beans. In fact, I'm just going to do the rest. And we are going to ground these. Now, for this type of coffee, we need coarse ground, which is good because this is kind of a coarse grounding tool. So what I'm doing, I'm just smashing up the beans and trying to get them as much surface area as I can get and make it somewhat uniform. Now, if you've never used a mortar and pestle before, they're kind of neat. They're really good for making aromatics or grinding up different things. I've had cowboy coffee before. Well, did you like it or did you hate it? Also, LD Brogren, if you are interested in what we're putting on here, you should follow us. And just like that, new follower. Welcome to the fray, LD Brogren. Welcome to the Bean Show. Any idea what the temp in the room is there? Well, I went ahead and opened the heater, so it's not bad in here. It's about 70 degrees. As you can see, I rolled up the old sleeves. There is an access point to our heat down here. It's just I don't like to turn it on because the 2 windows here are not very efficient. In fact, if it ever gets nice again, I'm probably going to switch those out. I don't know what LM means, but I'm sure it's only good things. Now I can tell you, the little room right next to this room, I have a temperature gauge in there, and it is reporting 2 below 0. So just feet away from me, very cold. My storage to paint a nice 55 to 60 degrees. Well, at least you're right by your heater. I guess there's no access to the heat being that close to it. Yeah. So this is pretty miserable. I do not like grinding coffee like this, but again, this is how people have ground coffee for hundreds of years, so. See, it's getting ground up pretty good. I want to go a little bit more, just like I said, to try to get as much coffee goodness out of this as I possibly can. That works better than I thought. Yeah, I mean, you got time, and that's the thing about Cowboy is probably got time. So grinding coffee this way is much more inconsistent. I would believe does it have an effect on the quality of the coffee. So it's going to have effects on the extraction rate. Now, because we're using what is called essentially how we're going to make this coffee is how we would make a French press, but we just don't have the little lever to push it down. You can get away with a lot more inconsistency. So we just want to break it up to expose as much surface area as we possibly can. But as far as needing a ton of consistency, we don't. In fact, if some of the coffee floats to the bottom to start, not the worst thing in the world. Alright. We're just getting it all mashed up there. No, you wouldn't want to make like espresso with this. Oh, I love you too, Gus. Do you still prefer to do this method instead of just popping in some K-cups of Folgers? Yeah. I actually have read... I have done this before. This is not my first time. In fact, during the hurricane, I did make coffee this way, and it's pretty good. It's the last part takes a little bit of finesse, and I'll show you why. I don't want to give away the Cowboy coffee just yet, but that's probably the only unpleasurable part. The coffee itself is actually really good, so instead of someone spitting in my mouth in the form of a K-cup, I'd rather do this. People like, yeah. So El Brogan just kind of gave away the punchline there in the sense that you're going to be in direct contact with grounds. Now, we're going to do some stuff to try to avoid getting the grounds in our mouth, but Alright. So it's still... I can still probably go a little bit more coarse, but I'm getting really thirsty. This does put you in direct contact. If you like the smell of craft coffee grinds, I would recommend grinding it in this manner. Simply because... very aromatic. Thanks. I appreciate all the confidence. Okay, so. I mean, pretty consistent. I think I did a pretty good job. We're smashing two rocks together. It looks pretty good. So, the next step. We're going to put 8 ounces of hot water in here. Then we're going to dump the coffee on top. I'm going to stir it, let it sit for 2 minutes, stir it again, and then we will try to get the grounds to sink to the bottom. And I'll kind of try to explain how I'm going to do that here. So I'm going to go get our fire heated water. Okay, so go ahead and just give you guys the full shot here. So 8 ounces of water. Now, if you were doing this, you could use anything, any sort of receptacle. But 8, you want to make sure that you're pouring as much liquid as you want to drink. Because eventually we're going to take all this liquid and we're going to transfer it to another cup. So I wouldn't recommend doing it in your big pot. Simply because you do want to be able to manipulate the grounds and the water just a little bit. So if you're camping and you only have one pot, do it in one pot and see how it works out. But if you do have a couple of receptacles, 8 ounces, and I mean 8 ounces is about a cup. So don't go crazy trying to get exactly 8 ounces if you're on the trail. Okay, so we got our 8 ounces. Now we are going to dump the grounds directly in. And for all intent and purpose, this is our coffee now. Just want to get it stirred up. Now, again, you may have done French press before and say, hey, this is a lot like French press. It is. It's French press without the French press. It's Cowboy coffee because it's very, very rudimentary in the sense that getting the coffee and the grounds to separate is going to take a little bit of trickeration. So we're gonna let this sit for 2 minutes. Drop it in. But I think right now, kind of the haves and have-nots show, so we can really tell the areas that get winters and the areas that don't, because it's been really cold here. It's been snowing all day, but for the most part, we haven't had to deal with any blackouts. I don't know if any of you guys have. If any of you have had rolling blackouts or been in a blackout, let me know, but I think we've been benefited from not having our power kick just yet. Hopefully that doesn't become a theme in the middle of the night, but everyone's doing a pretty good job lowering their power consumption. If you do this method at work, I bet your friends would think it's interesting. I think that would be the last straw. I think what I do right now is it's kind of romantic in a way. Now I don't know, I can't speak for it, but because I've always made coffee at work this like I do. But I think if I start doing stuff like this, they're like, all right, he's gone too far. But if we didn't have power, big guy'd still be getting his caffeine fix. All you Keurig nuts, you're just pushing buttons. Okay, so take a little. Now, you might be thinking, you can't drink this. There's a bunch of grounds in there. This is actually how roasters will test not only a roast, but the quality of beans. They won't stir it again, but they actually will drink the liquid with the ground straight in. They have what's called a cupping spoon, and they'll cup it right into their mouth. Soon, very, very soon, we will start doing some cupping on this show. So you guys can get an idea of how I'm going to start deciding what is good and what is bad. The camera flashes and glitches a tad randomly, just a note. Yeah, this camera here is junk. It was my main camera, and then it got moved to the bean camera. Now it's on the last chopping block as being the junk camera. So Hopefully the flashy camera won't be around for much longer. Okay, so what we want to do is we want these coffee grounds to go down. Now, there's a couple of different ways that we can make the coffee grounds go down. One is to pour cold water on top of them. The cold water will actually sink to the bottom because it's heavier, and while doing so, it will pull anything that it touches with it. So the grounds will be pulled down by the cold water. I don't want to water down my coffee because in this true good Cowboy coffee nature, I want it to be very strong. So what we're going to do is we're going to use ground up eggshells. Now you might be thinking, whoa, wait a minute, Pally. Yeah, so the ground up eggshells should act as enough of a weight to pull the grounds down to the bottom of the water. Use Starbucks grinds. I'd rather again be spit in my mouth. These are Fat Bean's own grounds. So we are going to use the eggshells to pull the grinds down to the bottom, and hopefully make it easy enough for us to separate the water and the grinds. Do we have any gardeners in here? Does anyone know what eggshells might do to my coffee? A little on the bed. Hopefully these will pull most of our grounds down. By doing so, we'll also sink to the bottom. So eggshells actually have a high level of alkalinity. The coffee that I used is the Kenyan coffee that I kind of complained about the acidity of on Friday. So these will actually add a little bit of alkalinity to the overall brew. Now, you know, the Cowboys all said that eggshells would work, but I still see some little bit of floaters. Let's see if we can't knock them down by a little bit here. Say hi. Jill says hi, can't be here, going to bed by candlelight. Texas is not well equipped for what they're getting right now. Okay, so most, not all, of the grounds have been pushed down to the bottom. Right here. See how most of the grounds are now at the bottom of the coffee? It's going to make it a little bit easier for us to separate the coffee from the grounds. We're going to do that by pouring it into another glass. I'm already getting some grounds in. That's okay. I also read that, let's say you wanted to try to get even more grounds out, you could use a sock. Preferably a clean one, but you could use a sock. Now, if you think using a sock sounds gross, my first cup of coffee I ever drank was filtered through a sock, and it was pretty good. That is the typical way that Central and South America likes to brew their coffee. So you can see we'll have quite a bit of grounds in here. There's also probably more grounds than I care to admit in the cup, but hey, we're making do with what we got. Gonna see if I can clear out a little bit of action. Let's try it. Besides having to use my teeth as a filter, and I think a little bit more ground up would have probably helped, but this is excellent. This is actually really high quality, almost on the borderline of gourmet. Like the grounds floating around in it aren't the most desirable, but it's the coffee itself is delicious. Better, oh, miles. I mean, there is tons and tons of flavor in this coffee. Because we didn't go away from having the coffee be fresh, we still freshly ground it. We controlled the water temperature. I used 200 degree water, or I waited a minute after boiling it. We got all of the notes of good coffee, and as you saw, we did it very, very rudimentarily. So the AeroPress is nice for camping, but even if all you had was hot water and coffee, you could still make a high caliber cup of joe. Yeah, I would imagine that the freeze-dried coffee from Folgers probably matches the SOP of the Navy pretty well. That's what we use in the Navy as far as the culinary world, I think, is mostly avoided. That's not to say you probably didn't have a lot of good cooks in the Navy, but I'm guessing restaurant owners usually don't say, hey, that's what we do in the Navy. Like I said, using my lip and my teeth as a little bit of a guard there. Not bad. And I think you can tell there's some pretty big pieces left in there. I think if I would have just been a little bit more ambitious on the grind, I think a lot of these bigger pieces would have been regulated to the bottom. But I'm glad you're impressed, Jeannie McDonald. I am. The best cup of coffee I've had today. That's not even a joke. This is coming from that Kenyan that I was a little bit... wasn't very pleased with how acidy it was, especially when I did it on Friday for you guys in the AeroPress. I was like, ooh, this is too acidy. Because of the eggshells, and because I used hotter water, a little bit hotter water, a lot of that acidity got balanced out with the alkalinity of the eggshells, and also the heat of the water. So, although I tell you never to use hot water will also kind of remove some of the acid. The acid is the first flavor to get burnt off when you're brewing coffee. Now in the specialty coffee world, the acid is the most desirable flavor. That's why there's so much steps taken to preserve it. But for the most part, you can kind of control the acid by what you do. So those of you that are very acid adverse, there's a lot of techniques that you control by the person who brews it that can regulate and get rid of the acid taste. So like I always preach here in the Fat Beans Coffee Lab, it's not about the best. It's not about trying to find, it's about working with coffee to get the most desirable version. So even a coffee that I have been bemoaning, we've done a couple of different methods. We've done cold brew with it, and now we cowboyed it, and both have made arguably some of the better coffee I've drank in a while. So it just goes to show that the flexibility of coffee cannot be denied. As long as you are keeping with the freshly roasted, good water, controlled temperature, freshly ground. The possibilities are endless. Now, can you still make bad coffee by having all those? Absolutely. Would I serve this at a restaurant or a coffee shop? No. I mean, but if I was outside right now and I had to have a hot cup of coffee and I had fire and water, by golly, made it work. Okay, so real purpose of this show was just the show must go on. So although we didn't get a roast, and a lot of our audience is pretty much been pushed to the farther recesses of civilized life, I'm talking mostly to our Texas audience because Arkansas, Kansas is old hat for us. Even though it's probably never been this cold in either state. You guys have all been out there really got your minds locked in, and I'm surprised we haven't had rolling blackouts, but work. But because of the risk of rolling blackouts, Belvarte has nailed it. I can drink as much coffee as I want because we got no school. But you remember the guy you saw at the start of the show? Yeah, he don't got school either, so school's in session for the big guy no matter what. But at least I had some good coffee. I miss the Texas people in the chat as well because they're the ones who told me to do this method. So, but you don't got internet and you're worried about your phone staying charged, I think Fat Beans Coffee Lab gets pushed to the very, very edges of necessity. That is just a little bit of a therapy session here. Probably the number one reason why I had to get out of Texas, because here the power goes out, and yes, there's a lot of people, and yet, but in Texas the power goes out, they have no problem, and I guess that's built in their DNA that they will just think it's okay to live without power for 5 or 6 days. That is the one thing about the Midwest. You can complain about the weather, you can complain about not being access to like things like mountains or beaches, but things just work here. And watch the power just shuts down. But hats off to the municipal company, because although I'm not going to run Jutes, and yes, Mom, if you're still watching this, my roaster's name is Judy. Although I'm not going to run old Jutes, at least we got power. At least I can go to bed tonight knowing my boys won't be freezing. Well, hopefully. All right. Good show tonight. I really enjoyed it. Well, thank you. I did it for you, the people. So the group of you that showed up, I really appreciate it. It was good chat. It was good to see some new people, especially you, LD Brogren. You added a nice little spice to the show, so it's good to see you. Yes, thanks, Power Company. So Jay Brogren and me, we're sitting on a little bit of pins and needles as far as we're just always kind of afraid the power's going to go out, but the Midwest is really pulling through here. So. All right. Well, said it would be a quick show. So thanks for everyone that came in. It was fun. Good to talk to you. It was good to see some of you. All of you. But I will... to quickly talk about my upcoming schedule. I'm going to roast tomorrow because I have to roast for myself. I am running out of coffee. So I will roast tomorrow. We'll also do the standard Wednesday show. So Tuesday and Wednesday. Friday and Saturday, I don't know. I'm working on some things as far as schedule goes. I should have a better report. I know a lot of you were hoping to see Baby Beans. I think he's a busy guy. So you might have to reschedule. But I think we are still working on some cool stuff that me and Baby Beans are going to be collabing on. So be looking for that maybe towards the end of the week. So, peace out. Well, L. Brogren, I think you said it best. I think that's all we need to say there. So, as always, stay caffeinated. What day are you going to do Gary and Shelly's coffee? Wednesday. Okay, well. Bye-bye.